I was the understudy for my own brother's wedding, marrying into the wealthiest family in the state. Everyone was laughing at me, the gold digger, the kept man. They were all placing bets on how long it would take before the city's infamous ice queen, the heiress I was about to marry, threw me out on the street. On our wedding night, she slapped a contract on the table in front of me. Her perfect red lips barely moved. Sign it. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me unless you have to. A year from now, we get a quiet divorce, and I'll give you $5 million. I glanced at the contract and smiled, because I could hear the voice screaming inside her head. Come on, sign it. If he signs it, I can still make it to the club. All those cute guys. Wait, he's actually way hotter than the guys at the club, and that suit fits him really, really well. My name is Ethan Hayes, and today was supposed to be the best day of my life. The wedding reception was an obscene display of wealth. The guest list was a who's who of New York's elite, but not a single one of them would look me in the eye. Their whispers were just loud enough to carry. Is that really him? The illegitimate Hayes' son? He's actually going through with this, stepping in for his brother. How could Chloe Sterling agree to this? I thought she hated men, especially losers. She's probably just furious. The Hayes family backs out of the deal, so she grabs the nearest warm body to save face. Mark my words, he'll be gone by the weekend. I listened with a blank expression, feeling nothing. They weren't wrong. I was the stand-in. My so-called brother, Leo, the golden boy screw-up, had skipped town with his latest fling the day before the wedding, leaving a Category 5 hurricane of a mess behind him. To avoid a war with the Sterling family, my father and stepmother dragged me out of my shoebox apartment in Queens, using a combination of threats and promises to get me to take Leo's place. Ethan, just do this, and we'll cover your mother's medical bills for life. All of them. I looked at my father's phony, desperate face and agreed. During the ceremony, my new wife, Chloe Sterling, the ruthless, stone-cold business prodigy, never once glanced my way. She looked like a goddess sculpted from ice, her wedding dress pristine, her beauty so perfect it felt artificial. She radiated a chill that warned everyone to keep their distance. It wasn't until we were alone in the sprawling penthouse suite that she finally deigned to look at me. The silence in the massive room was deafening. She kicked off her heels, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet as she crossed to me and tossed a file onto the table. The papers slid off and scattered at my feet. Sign it, she said. Her voice was as cold as her reputation. I picked up the agreement. The terms were spelled out in black and white. During the marriage, the parties shall occupy separate bedrooms. Neither may enter the other's room without explicit permission. In public, the parties shall maintain the appearance of a loving couple. In private, they shall not interfere in each other's lives. Ethan Hayes shall not interfere in any of Chloe Sterling's personal affairs, including but not limited to her social life and relationships. After 1 year, the parties shall divorce amicably. Chloe Sterling shall pay Ethan Hayes $5 million as compensation. I looked over the humiliating terms, about to speak, but then a strange voice popped into my head, clear as day. Hurry up and sign it. What's he waiting for? As soon as he signs, I can sneak out and meet the guys. I heard that new lounge downtown is amazing. I froze, my eyes snapping up to meet hers. She was still staring at me with that bored, aristocratic disdain, the impatience and disgust clear in her eyes. It was as if that bubbly, excited voice had been a figment of my imagination. I looked back down, pretending to read the contract while I focused my senses. The voice was back, although, looking closer, he's a lot more handsome than that idiot Leo. In his body, you can tell he's in great shape even through the tux. Too bad he's a nobody, but I guess there are advantages to that. He'll be easy to control. Ugh, why isn't he signing? The club is going to be packed by now. This is killing me. It was real. I could actually hear my ice-cold wife's inner thoughts. This discovery was even more thrilling than marrying into a billion-dollar dynasty. I couldn't suppress the smile creeping across my face. I picked up the pen and signed my name with a flourish. Done, I said, handing the papers back to her. Chloe snatched the agreement from my hand, giving me a final, dismissive look. Remember your place. The housekeeper will show you to your room. Stay out of my sight. With that, she turned to leave. Success. All right, boys, here I come. Watching her practically run for the door, I suddenly spoke up. Wait. Chloe stopped, turning back with an annoyed look. What now? God, this loser is so needy. What could he possibly want? I walked slowly toward her, my eyes drifting to the collar of her dress, slightly askew from her haste. Article 3, I said, tapping the document in her hand. You're not allowed to interfere in my private life, right? Chloe frowned. That's what it says. What's he getting at? Does he want to go out and party too? Fine by me. We can both do our own thing. Perfect. Good, I smiled. Then I'd like to sleep in the master bedroom tonight. Is that okay? The color drained from her face. In your dreams, she hissed, her eyes turning murderous. In his dreams. This is my bed. My sanctuary. Does this pathetic freeloader really think he can just climb into my bed? Not a chance in hell. But what if he leaks the agreement? Says I'm not honoring the terms? He wouldn't dare, but it would be so annoying. Maybe he can sleep on the couch? No, a man and a woman alone. What if he gets ideas in the middle of the night? Listening to the frantic battle raging inside her head, my smile widened. I took another step closer, lowering my voice so only she could hear. Chloe, we're husband and wife now. Sleeping in separate rooms is already going to raise eyebrows. If I get kicked out of the master bedroom on our wedding night, what do you think people will say? I looked her directly in the eye. They'll say you can't even handle one little loser. Her pupils contracted. How? How did he know that's my weak spot? Damn it. He hit me right where it hurts. Trevor is always looking for a reason to laugh at me. If he found out I couldn't even manage my brand new husband, he'd be unbearable. Trevor Sterling, Chloe's cousin, and her biggest rival of the family company. My deadbeat father had given me a dossier on the family dynamics, a pathetic attempt to keep me from screwing things up. Looks like it was paying off. Chloe stared at me, her gaze so intense I thought she might burn a hole through my skull. After a few seconds, she let out a short, sharp breath. You can have the couch, she bit out. Then she spun on her heel and stalked into the master bathroom. I'm so furious. My night out. My cute guys. It's all ruined. This Ethan Hayes isn't some pathetic pushover. He's a monster. Hearing the sound of her stomping her foot in the bathroom, my mood soared. I took off my tuxedo jacket, tossed it casually onto her king-sized bed, and sank into the plush, ridiculously comfortable sofa. Breathing in the faint floral scent that was uniquely hers, I closed my eyes. Marrying her in my brother's place was supposed to be a miserable transaction. But now, things were getting interesting. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. When I opened my eyes, Chloe was already dressed in a sharp business suit, sitting at the dining table, gracefully eating her breakfast. Noticing I was awake, she didn't even look up. There's a guest room downstairs. Move your things into it today. Humph. At least you had the decency not to try and crawl into my bed last night. I stretched, sitting up from the sofa, and walked over to the table, sitting down opposite her and pulling the other plate of food toward me. Is this for me? Chloe's hand paused midair, a frown creasing her brow. The housekeeper made it. Obviously it's for you. Who else would it be for? A ghost? You'd think he'd never seen a decent breakfast before. I ignored her inner monologue and started eating. It was delicious, 100 times better than the takeout I usually lived on. Just then, a woman in a pencil skirt and a silk blouse, her hair in a tight bun, walked in. It was Chloe's personal assistant, Sarah. Sarah's eyes flickered toward me with a flash of contempt so quick I almost missed it. She masked it immediately, turning to Chloe with professional deference. Ms. Sterling, the car is ready. Also, the Hayes family called. They said that, per tradition, you and Mr. Hayes are expected for a visit today. Chloe's frown deepened. A visit? To that toxic snake pit of a house? God, what a nightmare. And I have to drag this freeloader with me. It's like a public humiliation. She dabbed her lips with a napkin and stood. Understood. Then, she looked at me, her eyes full of warning. When we're there, you keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything you're not supposed to. Just play your part. Don't worry. I smiled at her. I'm a professional. A professional what? A professional mooch? Chloe rolled her eyes internally, then turned and walked out, the clicks of her heels echoing on the marble floor. I leisurely finished my glass of orange juice and followed her. The Hayes residence. I was back. I wondered how my dear father, stepmother, and brother were planning to welcome me home. The Maybach pulled up to the gate of the Hayes family's Greenwich mansion. My nominal father, Robert Hayes, and my stepmother, Cynthia, were waiting on the front steps, their faces plastered with fake smiles. The moment Chloe stepped out of the car, they rushed forward. "Chloe, darling, so good to see you." "It must have been a long drive," Cynthia gushed, reaching for Chloe's arm. Chloe sidestepped her without missing a beat. She just gave them a cool nod. "Mr. Hayes, Mrs. Hayes, keep acting. If it weren't for the merger, I wouldn't be caught dead at your tacky house." I nearly choked, trying to hold back a laugh. Robert and Cynthia's smiles froze on their faces. The atmosphere turned awkward. It was only then that they seemed to notice me standing behind Chloe, and their expressions immediately soured. "Ethan, what are you doing just standing there? Show some initiative," Robert hissed under his breath. I said nothing, just looked at them. Chloe paused and glanced back, first at me, then at my father. What the hell? He's going to belittle my husband right in front of me? He may be a nobody, but he's my nobody now. You don't get to kick my dog. This old fox, is he trying to put me in my place? Suddenly, a sly smile touched her lips. She walked back to me and looped her arm through mine, the gesture shockingly intimate. My whole body went rigid. I could feel the soft press of her arm, her warmth seeping through my suit jacket. Her expensive perfume filled my senses. "Dad, Mom," Chloe's voice was syrupy sweet. "Don't be too hard on Ethan. He was completely worn out last night." She shot me a look so full of meaning it was practically pornographic. "There, that should make you squirm." Listening to her thoughts, which were purely designed to antagonize them, I played along, offering a tired, slightly bashful smile. Robert and Cynthia's faces turned a shade of green. They had clearly never imagined that the cold, man-hating Chloe Sterling would be so affectionate with a loser like me. We walked into the living room, where my runaway brother, Leo, was slouched on the sofa, scrolling through his phone. He didn't even bother to stand up when we entered, just gave a low whistle. Well, look what the cat dragged in. My new sister-in-law, and my dear little brother. How's it feel, huh? Filling my shoes? Pretty good, I bet. He looked at me with an expression of pure smugness and contempt, as if I'd just won the lottery on his dime. Before I could answer, Chloe laughed. She let go of my arm and walked toward Leo, looking down at him from her full height. "Leo," she said, her voice soft but laced with steel, "I think you're mistaken about something. From the very beginning, the man I wanted to marry was never you." She raised a slender, manicured finger and pointed it directly at me. "It was him, Ethan." The room fell into a dead silence. Robert and Cynthia stared, their mouths hanging open. The triumphant smirk on Leo's face froze and shattered. Bunch of morons. Did they really think I was interested in that spoiled brat who's good for nothing but spending money? If Ethan hadn't been hiding from me all these years, I never would have had to resort to such a ridiculous plan. But it worked. I've got him now. Just wait and see how I train him. I listened to her inner thoughts, and my mind went completely blank. What did she mean? She had wanted to marry me all along. How was that possible? Before today, we had never, ever met. Leo was the first to recover. He burst out laughing, as if he'd just heard the world's greatest joke. "Chloe, are you insane? You wanted him? This failure who couldn't even finish community college and has to deliver for Uber Eats to pay his rent." He pointed a finger at me. "Do you have any idea who his mother is? She's a certified lunatic. We have to pay to keep her locked up in a home." Slap. The sharp, clean sound of a hand hitting a face echoed through the living room. Chloe lowered her arm, her eyes glacial as she stared at the 5 red finger marks blooming on Leo's cheek. "When did I give you permission to insult my husband?" "And another thing," she said, turning her head to sweep her gaze over Robert and Cynthia. "As of today, my husband's mother's medical expenses will be covered by me. The Sterling family can handle it. I wouldn't want to burden you. Also, I hear the Hayes Corporation is bidding on the new Southbridge development project. What a coincidence. Sterling Industries is also very, very interested." After dropping that bomb, she walked back to my side and took my arm again. "Ethan, let's go. This house is filthy." I let her pull me out of the mansion, my mind still reeling. It wasn't until we were back in the car, speeding down the highway, that the fog began to clear. What was she talking about? What did she mean? The man I always wanted to marry was you. Hey, Hawk, wasn't I amazing back there? Total queen behavior. That idiot Ethan is probably completely mesmerized by me. He looks so stunned. It's adorable. but I don't think he really remembers me. That kind of hurts. I turned my head to look at her. She was sitting perfectly straight, her expression back to its default "don't touch me" setting. My head was spinning with a million questions. Had we actually met before? Back at her penthouse, Chloe immediately locked herself in her home office. I could hear the storm of her frustrated thoughts. That idiot. That block of wood. That pig. I made it so obvious, and he had absolutely no reaction. Did he really forget everything that happened in high school? I guess it has been a long time, and he was going through so much back then. He probably never even noticed me. High school? My brain kicked into overdrive, sifting through old memories. To be honest, high school was a dark time for me. As the illegitimate son, I was a prime target for bullies. Then my mother's condition got worse, and I had to drop out to work. The whole period was a gray, miserable blur. Chloe Sterling. I searched the dusty corners of my memory for her name. Suddenly, a fragmented image flashed in my mind. A girl in a white dress, silently holding an umbrella over me in a downpour. A shadow, throwing rocks from an alley to scare off the jocks who had me pinned against a wall, but never showing her face. An envelope stuffed with cash that appeared in my locker the day I was about to be kicked out for not paying my fees. Could it be that the few rays of warmth in those bleak years had all come from her? But the girl in my memories was quiet, almost timid, nothing like the powerhouse of a woman who was currently pacing in the next room. Just as I was lost in thought, the office door opened. Chloe had changed into a tailored pantsuit. "There's a charity gala tonight. You're coming with me," she commanded. "That bastard Trevor will definitely be there. I have to bring Ethan. I need to stake my claim. I'll have to get him a new suit. Can't have him embarrassing me." I looked at her, and on an impulse, I asked, "Did we go to the same high school?" Chloe's body visibly tensed. She whipped her head around to face me. Her eyes were wide with surprise, a flicker of hope, and a hint of nervousness she couldn't quite hide. But her words were pure ice. "I don't remember. The school I attended isn't the kind of place people like you get into." "He remembers? Does he actually remember?" "No, be cool. Be cool. Don't let him know you've been obsessed with him for a decade. Right? Pretend you don't know him. Let him sweat a little. Make him work for it." Seeing right through her little act, the last of my uncertainty vanished. It really was her, the girl who had secretly been a light in my darkest days. Something deep inside me, a place that had been walled off for years, began to thaw. "Oh," I said, drawing out the word. "Must be my mistake. I guess I had a lot of girls chasing me back then. It's hard to keep track." "What? A lot of girls? Who? What are their names and addresses? I have to keep an eye on him. That gala is going to be full of vultures. I can't let them get their claws into my man." Chloe's expression darkened. She strode over to me and grabbed my wrist, her grip surprisingly strong. "Shut up and go get changed." She practically dragged me upstairs and shoved me into a walk-in closet larger than my old apartment. It was filled with racks of designer suits and formal wear. "Pick one," she said, leaning against the doorframe with her arms crossed. "Please pick the navy blue one. It'll match his eyes and show off his shoulders. He'll look incredible in it." My eyes scanned the racks, and I deliberately pulled out the navy blue suit. When I stepped out of the dressing room, I clearly heard her sharp intake of breath. "Oh my God, he's so hot I think my knees are weak. I want to lock him in a closet so no one else can see him." But her face remained a perfect board mask. "It's adequate. I guess it will have to do." I walked over to her, leaned in close, and whispered in her ear, "My tie is crooked. Can you fix it for me? Wife." I put a little extra emphasis on the last word. Chloe's ears turned a brilliant shade of crimson. He called me wife. "You call me wife? Okay, Chloe, get a grip. You are a cold, ruthless executive. Your brand is at stake." She took a deep breath, and when she looked up, her eyes were cool again. "Ethan, watch your tone." Despite her words, her long, slender fingers reached for my tie, fumbling with a knot. Her fingertips were trembling, and they brushed against my throat several times. Each light touch sent a jolt of electricity through me. I could hear her heart hammering in my chest. My heart is going to explode. He smells so good. I want to hug him. Just as her hands were about to creep up around my neck, I caught her wrist. "Perfect," I said, straightening up and putting a little distance between us. I smiled. "Thanks, wife." Chloe snapped back to reality, yanking her hand away as the blush spread down her neck. "Oh my God, that was so embarrassing." I almost jumped him. That bastard Ethan. He's doing this on purpose. Watching her, flustered and furious, but trying desperately to look composed, the grin on my face grew wider. This was getting more and more fun. The gala was held at the most exclusive hotel in the city, a glittering palace of crystal and gold, swarming with the city's elite. The moment I walked into the ballroom with Chloe on my arm, we became the center of attention. 100 pairs of eyes, curious, jealous, disdainful, were suddenly fixed on me. So, that's Chloe Sterling's new husband? He cleans up nice, but I hear he's a total nobody. Should keep your voice down. Look at the way she's holding on to him. You'd think he was made of solid gold. Please, for a woman like her, a man is just a pretty accessory. As long as he's good-looking and obedient, what else matters? Chloe felt the stares, and her grip on my arm tightened. A bunch of gossiping hens. What do they know? My man is the best man in the world. Although, they're not entirely wrong. He doesn't really have a career right now. I have to fix that. I need to help him build something just to shut these people up. I patted her hand reassuringly. Just then, a man in a white designer suit approached us, a champagne flute in his hand. He was handsome, but there was a cruel glint in his eyes. Chloe, long time no see, and this must be your new husband? Aren't you going to introduce us? It was Trevor Sterling. Chloe's expression turned to ice. Trevor, my personal life is none of your business. This leech, he's always sniffing around, looking for trouble. Trevor just smiled, turning his condescending gaze on me. Mr. Hayes, I've heard so much about you. Stepping in for Leo to marry our family's little princess. You're a lucky man. His words were polite, but the insult was clear. I was nothing but a substitute, a gold digger who'd hit the jackpot. Before I could respond, Chloe jumped in. I begged him to marry me, Trevor. If you're so concerned with other people's business, maybe you should focus on your company's next quarterly report. I heard the numbers aren't looking too good. The color drained from Trevor's face. Nice one. Get him. Destroy him. Chloe cheered for herself internally. Trevor took a deep breath, forcing a smile. Always so feisty, Chloe. I'm not here to fight. I actually came to talk about a partnership. My firm wants to co-develop that East Side plot with Sterling Industries. What do you think? Chloe's eyes narrowed. The East Side plot? Isn't that an industrial wasteland? What's he up to? Wait, I remember hearing something about that land. Severe contamination issues. Impossible to clean up. He's trying to drag me down with him. The snake. I heard her thoughts and immediately understood. It was a trap. The East Side plot was a toxic money pit. Anyone who invested would be financially ruined. This was Trevor's play to weaken Chloe's position in the company. I would not let that happen. Just as Chloe was about to refuse, I squeezed her hand gently and stepped forward with a smile. That's a brilliant idea, Trevor. I've been saying for weeks that the East Side plot has incredible potential. But of course, a partnership requires a show of good faith. Chloe whipped her head around to look at me, her eyes wide with shock and confusion. Is Ethan insane? Does he know it's a trap? Why is he walking right into it? Trevor was also taken aback, but a look of triumphant glee quickly replaced his surprise. He clearly thought the idiot freeloader was taking the bait. Oh, and what do you have in mind, Mr. Hayes? I smiled pleasantly. It's simple. Sterling Industries provides the capital. Your firm provides the sweat equity. You'll handle all the preliminary surveys, the environmental impact reports, the zoning applications, all of it. Once all the permits are secured and the land is certified clean and ready for development, our capital comes in. How does that sound, Trevor? More than fair, I think. The moment the words left my mouth, all the color drained from Trevor's face. I had just asked him to walk through a minefield and clear all the bombs before I would even consider stepping onto the field. Chloe stared at me, her expression one of utter disbelief. How? How did he know the land was contaminated? The surveys and reports are the whole game. He wasn't agreeing with Trevor. He was calling his bluff, this man. What else is he hiding? Trevor's smile was frozen on his face. He was speechless. The onlookers who had been watching the drama unfold were now looking at me with a newfound respect. They had expected to see a fool, but in a few short sentences, I had made one of the city's most ruthless players look like an amateur. This was no freeloader. This was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Trevor forced a laugh. You have a strange sense of humor, Mr. Hayes. I'm not joking. I cut him off, my smile unwavering. If those terms aren't acceptable, then I guess there's no deal. Chloe, let's get some food. I'm starving. Without another glance at Trevor's thunderous expression, I took a still-stunned Chloe by the hand and led her toward the buffet. It wasn't until we were in a quiet corner that she seemed to wake from her trance. She yanked her hand free and pulled me behind a large potted palm. Ethan, who are you? She demanded, her eyes sharp as daggers, trying to see right through me. This is not the Ethan Hayes I researched. He's a stranger. This is terrifying. He knew the East Side plot was a trap. He knew Trevor was trying to screw me over. He even knew how to turn it back on him. How could he possibly know all that? Is he a corporate spy? Sent by another company to get close to me, to take over my family's empire? No, that can't be it. The way he looks at me doesn't feel fake. But still, her thoughts were a chaotic symphony of confusion, suspicion, and fear. I looked at her pale face and trembling lips and knew that the night had been too much for her. I was silent for a moment, then decided to drop an even bigger bomb. I already told you, didn't I? I said, looking her directly in the eye. I can hear you. I can hear every word you're thinking. Chloe's pupils dilated to the size of dinner plates. She looked like a cornered animal, instinctively pressing herself back against the cold marble wall. What? What did you say? She whispered, her voice shaking. He's lying. He has to be bluffing. There's no way that's possible. But if it's not true, how did he know I wanted him to wear the blue suit? How did he know about the East Side plot? How does he always know what I'm thinking? Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. All those times I called him a loser in my head, the thoughts about going to the club, the part where I thought about hiding him in a closet. He heard all of it. I'm going to die. This is social suicide. I can never show my face again. Watching the Category 5 hurricane of horror ripping through her mind while she desperately tried to maintain a calm exterior was the most amusing thing I had ever witnessed. Her face shifted from white to red to a fascinating shade of green. I couldn't help but let out a low chuckle. So, I said, taking a step forward, trapping her between my body and the wall. I leaned down. Stop calling me a loser in your head. Wife. The word wife was a feather-light touch against her ear. Chloe's face exploded into a blush so deep it was almost purple. She looked up, ready to argue, to deny everything, but her gaze met mine, and all the words died in her throat. Finally, she just looked away, muttering through clenched teeth, "You're infuriating. Jerk. Pervert. He's enjoying this. He loves watching me squirm, but he's so close. My heart is beating so fast, and he smells so good." Looking at her, a perfect picture of someone trying to hate what they love, my mood was absolutely buoyant. The little drama Trevor had started ended with him making a hasty, humiliated exit from the gala. And I, Chloe Sterling's freeloader husband, had made a name for myself. The ride home was strangely silent. Chloe was pressed against the far door of the car, as far away from me as she could get. She didn't say a word. Even her mind was quiet. Don't think. Don't think. If I think, he'll hear it. I need to empty my mind. I'm a tree. I am a rock. I am thinking about nothing. I glanced over at her, her eyes squeezed shut, looking like a monk in deep meditation, and had to stifle a laugh. How could one woman be so adorable? When we got back to the penthouse, she fled from me as if I were the plague, sprinting up the stairs and slamming her bedroom door behind her. Safe. Phew. I thought I was going to suffocate. Wait, he's not going to come in, is he? What do I do if he comes in? Do I kick him out? Or do I just pretend to be asleep? I stood outside her door for a moment, listening to the chaos in her head, and shook my head with a smile. I turned and walked to the guest room next door. As my footsteps faded down the hall, I heard a faint, almost imperceptible note of disappointment in her thoughts. He actually left. Good. Who wants him in here anyway? For the next several days, Chloe actively avoided me. She left for the office before I was awake and came home late, burying herself in work at the office and locking herself in her room at home. She thought she was creating distance. She didn't realize that in this penthouse, there were no secrets from me. I could hear her in board meetings, using my suggestions from the gala to crush her opponents, and I could hear her inner pride and delight. You old fossils think you can outsmart me? You have no idea who I have in my corner. I could hear her at lunch, eating the meal I'd had the housekeeper deliver, her thoughts a mix of pleasure and internal conflict. This is so good. Even better than that Michelin star place. No, Chloe, be strong. You can't be bought with a fancy lunch. He's still a pig-headed man. And I could hear her at night, tossing and turning in her massive bed, her thoughts filled with longing and desire. That jerk, Ethan. Hasn't he even tried to talk to me in 3 days? Is it possible he's not attracted to me? No, that can't be right. At the gala, I definitely felt. Ugh, I can't sleep. I want to see him. I decided it was time. That evening, instead of going to the guest room, I walked directly to the master bedroom and opened the door. Chloe was in a silk nightgown, lying on her stomach on the bed, reading a report. The sound of the door opening made her jump. She sat up abruptly, one of the thin straps of her nightgown slipping down her shoulder, revealing a stretch of pale, smooth skin. What? What are you doing in here? She stammered, grabbing the duvet to cover herself, her face a mask of panic. How'd he get in? Didn't I lock the door? What does he want? What is he going to do? I'm not ready. I closed the door behind me and turned the lock, then walked slowly toward her. It's my room. Why wouldn't I come in? I sat on the edge of the bed, looking at her, tensed up like a frightened rabbit. You've been avoiding me for days, I said softly. Did you miss me? Chloe's cheeks flushed. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Who? Who missed you? Don't be ridiculous. I did. I've been thinking about you constantly. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. I reached out and gently hooked my finger under the fallen strap, sliding it back up onto her shoulder. Because I heard you say you did. My fingertip deliberately grazed her skin, and a shiver ran through her. I did not, she insisted. You did. I didn't. You did. Seeing her pouting, I stopped teasing her. I leaned forward and placed a soft, lingering kiss on her forehead. Chloe, stop running from me. From the moment you held that umbrella over me in high school, I've remembered you. That one sentence shattered her defenses. Her eyes filled with tears, and then she was crying, not silent, dignified tears, but a raw, heartbroken sob, like a child who had been hurt one too many times. Sob. He remembers. He actually remembers. I've waited so many years for this. Finally, sniff. She started hitting my chest with her small fists, but the blows were so soft they were more like a caress. You jerk. Why didn't you say something sooner? Do you have any idea how long I looked for you? Do you know what I went through to make this marriage happen? I let her vent, pulling her into my arms and holding her tight, breathing in the clean scent of her hair. My heart felt like it was overflowing. I'm sorry, I whispered into her hair. I'm sorry I made you wait so long. It turned out this whole ridiculous marriage wasn't a transaction at all. From the very beginning, it was a meticulously planned, long-awaited reunion, engineered entirely by her. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed and clear-headed. The space beside me was already empty. Chloe was back to her early morning routine, or maybe she was just too embarrassed to face me. I could clearly hear her thoughts from the dining room downstairs. Last night, so humiliating. I cried like a baby, and I said so many stupid things. Does Ethan think I'm a desperate mess? How's he going to act today? What am I supposed to say? Should I go back to being cold? I don't think I can pull it off anymore. I just smiled and shook my head, getting dressed and heading downstairs. At the table, Chloe was in a comfortable-looking sweatsuit, staring intently at the sandwich in front of her, though her ears were so red they looked like they might catch fire. I walked up behind her, wrapped my arms around her waist, and kissed the top of her blushing ear. Morning, wife. Chloe's body went completely rigid. She nearly dropped her sandwich. Let go of me. The staff will see, she whispered fiercely. He's hugging me, and he kissed me. I love it. Okay, house staff, please become invisible. Right now. I chuckled, letting her go and taking the seat across from her. What's there to be afraid of? We're a legally married couple. Chloe shot me a glare from under her eyelashes, but there was no heat in it. It was more playful than angry. The cozy atmosphere was shattered by Sarah's perfectly timed phone call. Chloe answered, and her expression slowly grew serious. I see. I'm on my way. She hung up and stood quickly. There's a problem at the office. I have to go. It's a Southbridge project. I knew it. That bastard Trevor just won't give up. I stood and took her hand. I'll go with you. Chloe hesitated for a second, then nodded. On the way to her downtown office, through a combination of her thoughts and her words, I pieced together what had happened. After being humiliated at the gala, Trevor hadn't given up on the East Side plot. He had used his connections to forge an environmental report and faked a geological survey, declaring the land perfectly safe for development. Then he leaked the falsified reports to a few of the older, more conservative members of the Sterling Industries Board of Directors. Those board members, who had always been allied with him, immediately called an emergency meeting. They were accusing Chloe of letting a personal grudge get in the way of a massively profitable project, and were demanding that the company acquire the land, with Trevor leading the development. "They're staging a coup," Chloe said, rubbing her temples, looking exhausted. "Those old dinosaurs have been trying to oust me as CEO for years. Trevor's forged documents are perfect. I don't have any concrete evidence to refute them. Am I really going to have to watch the company walk into this trap?" I saw the worry etched on her face and squeezed her hand. "Don't worry. I got this." The boardroom was already full when we arrived, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. One of the board members, a silver-haired man with a condescending smirk, spoke up as soon as we walked in. Well, look who decided to show up. We were beginning to think our CEO was too busy playing house to remember she has a company to run. Another chimed in. "Chloe, you owe us an explanation for the East Side project. Why would you turn down such a golden opportunity?" Trevor sat among them, looking like the cat who'd swallowed the canary. Chloe's face was like stone. She was about to speak, but I gently pulled her along with me, right to the head of the massive table. I looked around at the stunned faces of the board members and spoke calmly into the silence. "An explanation? Of course. But before that, I'd like to show you all a short video." I took out my phone and connected it to the boardroom's projector. An image flickered onto the massive screen. It showed the derelict East Side Industrial Park at night. Several figures in hazmat suits were furtively burying large, leaking barrels of chemical waste into the ground. The man directing them took off his mask for a moment, and the camera zoomed in on his face. It was Trevor's executive assistant. The room erupted in gasps. Trevor's face went white as a sheet. The board members who had been so aggressive just moments before were now staring in stunned silence. What? What is this? So the contamination was real, and it was deliberate. Trevor, how could you try to sabotage your own family's company like this? Trevor shot to his feet, pointing a trembling finger at me. "It's fake. This is a setup. You framed me." "Framed you?" I smiled and tossed a file onto the table. "These are the sworn affidavits from the men you hired to dump that waste. We have witnesses and physical evidence. Do you have anything else to say, Trevor?" I paused, letting my gaze sweep over the shell-shocked board members. "Furthermore, I've already contacted the authorities on behalf of Sterling Industries. I believe that corporate fraud, willful environmental destruction, and falsifying official documents should be enough to put you away for a very long time. As for the rest of you," I said, looking at the men whose faces were now the color of ash, "you can either tender your resignations and turn over your shares quietly, or you can wait here and join Trevor in explaining all of this to the police. Your choice." Throughout the entire thing, Chloe just stared at me, speechless. Her inner voice, however, was playing the most beautiful, triumphant symphony I had ever heard. "Oh my God, Ethan, when did he do all of this? He's like a god descending from the heavens, sweeping away all my problems. What did I ever do to deserve him? I love him. I really, really love him." The meeting ended with Trevor and his cronies being led away in handcuffs. The vast boardroom was empty except for the two of us. Chloe looked at me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. She walked slowly toward me, and then, in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows with the entire city skyline as our witness, she stood on her toes and kissed me. This kiss wasn't hesitant or impulsive like our first. It was deep and full of love and trust. When we finally broke apart, she rested her head against my chest, her voice muffled. "Ethan, thank you." I stroked her long, dark hair. "Don't be silly. We're husband and wife." Yes, we were, and I would always be there to stand in front of her, to be her shield. Trevor's downfall sent shockwaves through the company. Chloe seized the opportunity to clean house, removing anyone disloyal and consolidating her power. She was now the undisputed queen of her empire, and I went from being the freeloader husband to the ultimate mastermind playing the long game. The rumors about me at the office became legendary. Some said I was the secret heir to an old-money European dynasty, just playing at being poor for the experience. Others whispered I was a government-trained genius, sent to protect one of the country's most important businesswomen. My personal favorite was the one where I was Warren Buffett's secret protege. I just laughed them all off. Chloe, on the other hand, loved it. Every time she heard a new one, she would gloat internally. That's right, you'd better recognize. He's my husband, after all. Although, that secret heir story has potential. I like that one. With the biggest threat to the company gone, our lives settled into a peaceful, sweet routine. I officially moved out of the guest room and claimed my rightful half of the king-size bed in the master suite. Chloe would grumble, "You're on my side again," but every night she would unconsciously curl up against me in her sleep. He's so warm. I feel so safe in his arms. His chest is a little hard, though, kind of bony. The next day, I quietly had a new, softer mattress delivered. When she realized why, she blushed for 3 days straight and internally called me a pervert at least 100 times. I started taking on more responsibilities at Sterling Industries, and Chloe was more than happy to delegate. It gave her more free time to do things she'd always wanted to, like dragging me to the street fair she'd wanted to go to with me back in high school. She walked through the crowds like a little kid, a bubble tea in one hand and a corn dog in the other, without a trace of the intimidating CEO she was during the week. "Ethan, look," she'd say, pointing at a cotton candy vendor with wide, sparkling eyes. "One blue raspberry, please," I'd say with a smile. "How did you know I love the blue one?" she'd ask. I'd tap the end of her nose. "Because I know everything about you. Oh, he's so smooth. I don't even care that it's cheesy," but out loud, she would just sniff and say, "Such a flatterer." We also took a trip to the town where I grew up to visit my mother. She had been living in a state-run facility for years, her mind clouded by trauma from her past. Robert and Cynthia had paid the bare minimum, and her care had been negligible. I had her moved to the best private care home in the state, with round-the-clock nurses and doctors. She was already doing so much better. She was still quiet, but when she looked at us, there was a light in her eyes I hadn't seen in years. Chloe was endlessly patient with her, reading her stories and feeding her slices of apple, treating her like her own mother. On the drive back, Chloe leaned her head on my shoulder. "Ethan, can we visit her every weekend? She's all alone. We're her family now." I squeezed her hand. "Of course." I looked out the window at the passing landscape, a sense of peace settling over me that I had never felt before. I used to think my life was destined to be lived in the shadows. But Chloe, this woman who seemed so cold on the outside but was so warm and soft on the inside, had been a light that broke through all the darkness and pulled me out. She healed every broken part of me and gave me a home. And all I wanted to do was spend the rest of my life loving and protecting her. The year flew by. Today was our first wedding anniversary. It was also, according to the contract, our divorce day. Chloe was a nervous wreck all morning. She sat at her vanity, trying on a dozen different outfits, putting on makeup, and then washing it off over and over. What should I wear? Is red too aggressive? Is white too plain? That jerk Ethan. He doesn't actually remember we're supposed to get divorced today, does he? If he even dares to say the word divorce, I swear I'll break his legs. No, I have to be proactive. I will not let this happen. I leaned against the doorframe, watching her silent, frantic preparations, trying my best not to laugh. When she was finally ready, I walked over, wrapped my arms around her from behind, and placed a small velvet box on her vanity. "What's this?" she asked, looking startled. "Open it." She gave me a suspicious look and opened the box. Inside, there was no expensive jewelry. Instead, there were 2 crisp, new, red marriage certificates. In the photo, we were wearing matching white shirts, our heads tilted together, both of us grinning from ear to ear. When did you do this?" Chloe's eyes immediately filled with tears. Our first wedding had been such a rushed, formal affair that we had never officially registered it with the state. "Yesterday," I said, kissing the top of her head. "Mrs. Hayes, as of today, you're stuck with me for good." Chloe couldn't hold back anymore. She spun around and threw her arms around my neck, sobbing with joy. Who wants to get rid of you? I want you to be stuck with me forever," she mumbled in my chest. I held her, feeling her happiness radiate through me. That night, I booked the entire top floor of the city's most romantic revolving restaurant to celebrate. Candlelight, soft music, and a panoramic view of the glittering city lights. Chloe wore a stunning, star-dusted gown I'd picked out for her. She was breathtaking. "Ethan," she said, swirling the red wine in her glass, her eyes soft in the candlelight. "Sometimes this all feels like a dream." "If it is a dream," I said, taking her hand and lacing my fingers through hers, "I hope we never wake up." "Me too." Her thought and my words met in the middle. We looked at each other and smiled. Just as the moment felt perfect, an unwelcome guest arrived. My long-lost, dear brother, Leo, was standing at the entrance to the restaurant with his latest girlfriend on his arm. He saw us, froze for a second, and then his face twisted into a mask of pure jealousy and rage. He stormed over to our table, kicked over a decorative plant stand, and pointed a shaking finger at my face. "Ethan, you ungrateful snake. You finally made it, huh? Climbed your way to the top, and forgot all about the family that raised you. Don't you forget, if I hadn't run off, you'd still be nothing. Everything you have right now, this life, this woman, it was all supposed to be mine." His manic shouting had drawn the attention of the entire restaurant. Chloe's expression turned arctic. She was about to call for security, but I put a hand on her arm, stood up, and looked at Leo calmly. "Yours." I let out a short, humorless laugh. "Leo, did you forget? When the Sterlings first approached our family about a marriage, the picture they were shown was of me. You and Cynthia switched my photo for yours. That's the only reason you were ever in the picture at all. So, from the very beginning, she was always meant to be mine. You were never anything more than a cheap knockoff." My words hit him like a lightning bolt. He staggered back, his face a canvas of disbelief. "No, that's not possible. You're lying." I ignored him. I turned back to Chloe and got down on one knee. I pulled another ring box from my pocket and looked up at her. "Chloe, I'm sorry our beginning was such a mess, but I want to give us a new one. A real one. Just for us. Will you marry me? This time, no contracts, no deals. Just you and me." Chloe covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. She was laughing and crying at the same time as she nodded vigorously. "Yes, I will." I slipped the ring on her finger and stood up. As the entire restaurant burst into applause, I pulled her into my arms and kissed my bride. Outside the window, fireworks exploded across the night sky, and in my arms, I held my entire universe. Our second wedding was a small, intimate affair. We only invited our closest family and friends. My mother, with the best care Chloe and I could provide, had recovered remarkably. She was almost her old self again. At the ceremony, she took Chloe's hand, her face beaming with love, and slid my grandmother's old jade bracelet onto her wrist. "My dear girl," she said, "please take care of Ethan for me." "I will, Mom. I promise," Chloe whispered, her eyes shining. Robert and Cynthia had the nerve to show up. Ever since Leo had spiraled completely, racking up massive gambling debts and dragging the family name through the mud, they had been trying to get back in my good graces. I ignored them. The best revenge was watching me and the woman I loved build a happy life without them. It was a punishment far worse than anything I could say or do. Our married life was blissfully ordinary and endlessly happy. Chloe's attempts to block her thoughts from me were a complete failure. Her mind was still an open book. I grew to love our unique brand of telepathic domesticity. I'd be on an important international conference call, and she'd sneak into my office to bring me a cup of coffee. Out loud, she'd say, "Don't work too hard." But in her head, it was, "Wow, my husband speaking French is the sexiest thing I have ever heard. I want to climb over that desk and kiss him right now." The result was me nearly losing my composure in front of our biggest European investors. Or, on the rare occasion, I came home late after a business dinner, having had too much to drink. She would scold me with a stern face, "You need to take better care of yourself," all while expertly making me something to eat. But her inner monologue was a different story. "Drunk Ethan is so cute, like a big, sleepy golden retriever. Look at his puppy dog eyes, I just want to cuddle him. His face is so flushed. I wonder if I could get away with doing something naughty." And I would have to pretend to be asleep while she poked my cheeks, played with my hair, and stole a dozen little kisses. Of course, my ability wasn't just for eavesdropping. It was for loving her better. I knew she hated cilantro, so I always picked it out of her food. I knew she got sad and withdrawn for a few days every month, so I would have her favorite chocolates and a heating pad ready. I knew that beneath her powerful exterior, she was deeply insecure, so I always texted her where I was going and kept my phone on just for her. Love wasn't in the grand gestures. It was in 1,000 tiny details of a life shared together. Today was our third wedding anniversary. Chloe pulled me into our bedroom, a mysterious smile on her face. She handed me a beautifully wrapped gift box. "For you," she said, a faint blush on her cheeks. I opened it and froze. Inside was a pregnancy test with 2 clear, pink lines. My head snapped up to look at her, my voice trembling. I'm going to be a father." Chloe nodded, her eyes shining with happy tears. "That's right, Ethan Hayes. You're really, truly stuck with me now. I'm going to have a daughter. She'll be beautiful like me. No, wait, she should be smart like him. We're going to be a family of 3. I dropped the box and swept her up into my arms, spinning her around the room in a joyous circle. "I love you, Chloe. I love you too." The sunlight streamed through the window, warm and bright, falling on us and lighting up all the days of our future. And